Before we get into the video, I just wanted to have a moment to thank you guys for all the support you've given me through the GoFundMe while me and my wife are recovering. It's helped us out in more ways you could possibly know. I just went to the doctor yesterday. They told me it's probably gonna be, another couple months until I'm fully recovered, but words cannot describe how much I appreciate it. So thank you guys so much, but let's get on to the video. Now, if you guys are anime fans or watch anime at all, we've been eating pretty good lately. We have shows like Clavates, Kaiju number 8 season 2 is now out. Gachakuta is a brand new show that is absolutely incredible. You name it, there is loads and loads of spicy new shows or new seasons of shows that are coming out that are just amazing. Honestly, it's been kind of tough to try to keep up with all the new shows coming out, but thanks to that teenager that was texting and driving and ran into me on my motorcycle, I was bedridden for, the past month, so I was able to catch up on all of the anime. So I guess in a roundabout way, thank you, teenager. But while everyone is hyping up Gachakuta or Kaiju number 8 season 2, which rightfully so, I would say the shows are absolutely incredible. And that's a video for another day, actually. But I want to talk about a show that no one's talking about. The spotlight is not on them, and I feel that is a criminal offense. And that show happens to be Hero X. Yeah. And no, I'm not exaggerating. To Be Hero X might just be the most underrated anime of the decade. And today I'm gonna tell you guys why this show deserves more. Why so many people overlook this show and talk mad shit without even knowing or even giving the chance to understand it, and why it might secretly be a preview of anime's future as a whole. Now this summer, I've kind of been wanting to clean up my nutrition, but it always seems like these products that you find tend to be more of a chore than anything else. And that's why I'm excited to talk about today's sponsor, Grunes. Now Grunes aren't your average little multivitamin or green powder. These are a daily snack pack of 8 delicious gummies, packed with over 20 vitamins and minerals, 60 plus whole grain food ingredients, plus gut health support, hair and skin nutrients, and even super mushrooms for full body health. Basically, it's everything that you've been trying to cobble together all in one delicious pack of gummies. And look, there's no gross powder, no pills. You can just toss this in your backpack, your beach bag, wherever you're going. Hell, you can just grab it as a snack. So if you guys want up to 52% off of your order, make sure to click the link in the description, or you could scan the QR code on screen. Thank you, Grunes. All right, so let's rewind a sec. Where did To Be Hero X come from? Because it basically came out of nowhere. Nobody really knows. See, originally, this actually used to be a show called To Be Hero, and now that probably doesn't really mean much to anime fans. And the few that have heard of it, well, you probably just remember it as a dumb parody show about a toilet salesman who becomes a superhero. That was the premise of the original To Be Hero. It actually just started out as a low-budget slapstick parody anime back in 2016. Then it had a follow-up, To Be Heroin. Not the drug, but the, heroin, like, you know what I mean. Which this was a little bit more experimental and emotional, but definitely held that chaotic energy that the original had. And then suddenly, boom, out of nowhere, we get To Be Hero X. And this, like I said, came out of left field. I remember watching the trailer to this and being insanely interested and confused. The animation of the trailer was absolutely incredible, bouncing back and forth between 2D and 3D animation. I was like, how is this not going to be the hypest thing that's gonna come out? But I felt like there was also another thing that I didn't like about the trailer. It kind of just looked like a basic show about a hero tournament, and there's heroes fighting to become the best hero. Shit we've seen before. It's just a tournament arc as a show. Pretty cut and dry, but boy, was I wrong. And if people were expecting like maybe the silly gag series that it originally was, that's the complete opposite of what this show is. It's wild, it's cinematic, it's genre bending. It's an anime that just feels like it came out of nowhere. It's stylish, it's extremely experimental, which we're gonna talk about, and it's actually very moving. But like I said, because of its goofy origins, and also because of a lot of people just not understanding what the show had to offer, it kind of was just brushed off as just, the anime of the week. And that's not the only thing that turned people off from this show. Because the thing that really threw everyone off, the people who gave it a try and then threw it in the trash after a couple episodes, which is actually the very reason why I like this show so much, is the writing. Because what sets To Be Hero X apart from most seasonal anime is not the fact that, I mean, the animation definitely sets it apart, which we're gonna get to. It's actually the writing. See, the basic concept of the show is the idea of heroes who get powers based on their trust value, which basically means the more popular you are in terms of how people view you, the stronger you are as a hero, but that also comes with those downfalls, because your power is actually decided based on how people perceive you. For example, if they view you as just a nice person and that's like your whole bit, you gotta be nice all the time, or at least when you're in the face of those people. If they view you as someone who, say, stands tall and that's like your entire theme is standing tall, well, that turns into a literal thing where you have to stand tall all the time. You can't sit down or lay down. I feel like this concept can be used in so many cool and interesting ways, and they do use it in so many cool and interesting ways. For example, you know someone who just has the biggest dumps. Every time they come over, they lay the fattest dumps. You get you and your group of friends to start talking about how he has the biggest dumpies. All of a sudden, he's a superhero, and his power, big dumps. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's in your control. You could kind of see the double-edged sword of the situation. Let's talk about the tone of the show. It's really unlike anything else right now, because instead of following the main protagonist throughout the show, the first season is actually an anthology, and it's all written in reverse, which is why people don't like this show. They watch the first 2 episodes, 3 episodes, and then all of a sudden they swap to a different character and they're cooked. They're out. They're like, nah, I don't like it. I was too invested in this guy. I don't want to watch anymore. So the show talks about the top 10 heroes and gives a backstory of each one. And the timeline is in reverse. And yes, if you go into this not knowing that, it can get a little bit confusing. I went in not knowing that. I figured it out after a little bit, but I'll admit, a little bit confusing at first. Like at first glance, it's very chaotic, almost like it's making fun of anime itself. But underneath this absurdity and strange way of writing is a surprisingly heavy story. It talks a lot about identity, sacrifice, and what it actually means to be a hero and that whole thing. But like I said, what threw people off is the fact that they weren't prepared for it. The first 3 episodes, which talks about Hero Nice and Lin Ling, and you really get attached to these characters quickly, which is something the show does very well, is getting you attached to characters quickly. And then boom, it leaves you off on a crazy cliffhanger, and then all of a sudden, you just start a new story with a different character. I'll admit, if you aren't expecting it, catch you off guard, and it's a little bit upsetting because you can get really attached to these characters. Only to get teased and cut off and then introduced to a character that you have no idea who they are and you just don't care. But trust me, if you stick throughout this show, each story will overlap. Each story starts to make more and more sense as the show goes on. But since it's written in reverse, the things that happen in the first 3 episodes are not going to be explained. And then also a lot of the things that happen in earlier episodes are like explained later on in the episodes, but you have to pay attention to every little detail. This show requires a little bit of attention. You really got to watch because there's so many little details, little things that you miss. There's a couple parts I even had to watch back and be like, wait, is that guy this guy from this? Or was he this guy from this? Is that guy from the, yeah, it's cool. And I kind of like shows like that. I like shows that make you think, you know, I'm kind of a little bit bored of shows that just kind of spoon feeding you what's going on and then you get an action scene. And the thing about the show is it doesn't just end when it comes to watching the show. There's also a To Be Hero X website that gives a bunch of different details about the heroes. There's videos on YouTube that are completely separate from the actual show that give more and more details about each character. This show goes beyond just being a show that you watch and you're done. If you really want to know more about the show, there are things out there to find more about this show. And I think that's so goddamn cool because the problem is anime watchers are notoriously impatient people. They don't like slow burns. They want the anime of the week. And that's why I feel like this show is getting brushed under the rug. But trust me on this, the writing in the show is so well done, which arguably you could say a few episodes aren't written that great, a few characters maybe aren't written that great, but all in all, I feel like it's very underrated. There are even moments I teared up for a character I've only known for 1 episode, which is wild to me. But this is what makes To Be Hero X so special. It writes like it doesn't care about anime conventions. It doesn't chase the trends. It doesn't follow the hype. It tried something new. It kind of bended the genres. And personally, I think they did a good job, which leads me to another thing that they did that was completely off of what you normally get with anime. The big elephant in the room. When you see this show, what's the first thing that comes to mind? CGI, am I right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the animation. Because if you've seen any clips from the show, you've probably noticed it. And usually anime fans hear CGI and immediately go into fight or flight. And honestly, fair. I mean, we've all seen Berserk 2016. CGI in anime, it really has a rough reputation, to say the least. And a lot of times it tends to ruin the show that we get excited for. And most of the time when people use CGI, they use it as like a quick fix, a placeholder, because they didn't have time or the money or just didn't want to put in the work and tried to rush it. But here's the thing, this show doesn't hide that it's CGI. It doesn't try to blend it in and fail. It leans into it, it flaunts it, and it actually is what becomes its strength. Which leads me to the fight scenes, which are absolutely insane. The camera spins, the flips, the stretches of reality itself, things that 2D animation couldn't pull off without bankrupting a studio and causing 5 mental breakdowns per animator because they weren't able to go home to see their family for the 10th night in a row. But it's not just CGI. That's the thing that also is amazing about this, because it fluidly blends 2D and 3D animation into the show. Some fights where shit gets real intense, it swaps to 2D, and the 2D animation is absolutely incredible. And the transitions that they have from 2D to 3D animation are so beautifully done. It's safe to say this is probably one of the best animated shows that I've seen in quite a long time, because it doesn't use CGI as a crutch, it uses it as a style choice. It's not trying to look like, say, Attack on Titan, right? It's creating its own visual language. And honestly, it works, and it works so well, I personally believe that this might change the way that people use CGI in anime. And I feel like that's a good thing, because here's the truth. If smaller studios can use CGI like this, it means animators don't have to destroy their lives while working 100-hour weeks to make 20 seconds of Sakuga. It's a way forward, and To Be Hero X is one of the first shows to really prove that. I mean, look at today's climate where anime is just pumped out insanely fast, left and right. This could be a great way to make shows fast without destroying the quality or making animators work to death, and save the 2D high animation for the scenes that really need it. Or if you're actually a studio that has money and cares, just wait and make the 2D animation all the way. You know, you don't have to rush it. Please stop rushing it. I know that's what everyone wants. You know, it would be nice if every company would just stop rushing the anime and the animation and just make it the damn show as good as it could be. That would be great, wouldn't it? But this is potentially a good alternative. So I don't get it. The writing's great. The animation's great. Why ain't anybody talking about this show? Well, personally, I feel like it's a little bit of bad timing. I mean, we got all these big titles sucking up the oxygen when it comes to anime. You know, we got Kaiju number 8 season 2, like I mentioned. They got the Fire Force new season, got Clavates, got Gachakuta. Like, there are so many great shows right now, and it's just kind of, you know, overshadowing this. And also, To Be Hero X didn't have any massive manga fan base. It didn't have MAPPA level marketing budget. So most people saw the anime and was like, that looks cool, but I'll pass. I'm gonna watch this instead. But the reason I feel like people need to watch this show is they're not playing it safe. You know, all the hype shows are playing it safe. To Be Hero X is innovating. It's doing things with writing and visuals that mainstream anime wouldn't even try right now. And because nobody gave it a chance, it's sitting in obscurity instead of being recognized for the experiment that it really is. So yeah, To Be Hero X might be a little bit messy for some people. It's definitely experimental. It's not gonna be everybody's cup of tea, but I 100% believe that this is a underrated show. You know, it's bold, it's unique, and it's the kind of anime that I feel like we need in this medium if we're gonna keep growing instead of just repeating the same shit over and over. It's a nice change of pace. So let me know in the comments below, have you guys watched it? What do you think about it? If you haven't watched it, check it out. Then let me know, what do you think about it? Because this one deserves attention. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.